Hello and welcome to My Left Ear. Today is Monday, October 16th, and on Mondays we do weekly runes. So the weekly runes are more like about us as a collective. And because this is a left-leaning YouTube channel, we're focusing a bit on the world and politics and that kind of thing, rather than you looking at your own individual astrology or personal lives. Not that I can't touch it. You might recognize some things here, but that's the purpose. So My Left Ear, I also do long, like maybe 25, 30-minute YouTube sessions about current politics. And I did one yesterday that is up. Video 176. And when I'm not here, I'm a change agent. I help people on an individual basis, and I help people change and achieve goals and overcome obstacles. And I do that through psychic coaching, one-on-one, using the runes and my left ear, which is pretty darn accurate, and clinical hypnotherapy, which I've been doing for over 20 years. And at one time I did that 8 years at an alcohol and drug rehab facility. So that kind of upped my game, because that group of people that suffer are very challenging to deal with in therapy. And you have to really attune your intuition when you're working with that community, which is in a lot of pain, by the way. And I also have a Patreon channel. I'm going to do a Patreon video tomorrow. I was going to do it today, but I want to think about it a little bit more. And it's patreon.com/Carrie Freeman. It is $8 a month to see my videos, and you can join and you can quit anytime. And it's $4 a month to simply say thank you and support me. All right, here we go. What did I wrote a note here that that doesn't mean anything, so that caught me by. All right, so this is from October 16th to October 23rd. Now let me tell you about what I did this morning. I pulled a rune reading, and I talk to the runes when I'm pulling it. And I looked at the reading, and something was, for me, just felt, I don't know how I feel about this. So I went, I'm going to pull another set. And in each time I pulled a clarifier. But in the second reading, it felt significant because my clarifier was the same as the last rune that I pulled. So I'm going to share this with you first, and then I'm going to share a couple of the runes that I pulled the first time, because I think they're relevant also. Now, I rarely do this, but this is just me listening to my ear, all right? So the first rune I pulled was Stand Still. And the property of Stand Still is ice. And it's just kind of like one, I don't know, pole. It looks just like that. It's one skinny pole. So it says, stand still. The winter of your spiritual life is upon you. You may find yourself entangled in a situation to whose implications you are, in effect, blind. And, globally and locally, the United States, I think that's true. I think we are blind to a lot of things that are going on. We only know so much. It says you, but I'm saying we may feel powerless to do anything except submit, surrender, even sacrifice some long cherished desire of peace in the Middle East. That's what came to me. It says, be patient, for this is the period of gestation before rebirth. And that sentence feels like Congress. Be patient. I think there are more holdups this week with this stand still. And the rune says, positive accomplishment is unlikely right now. And that could be, everywhere. That could be in the Middle East, could be in Ukraine, except there is positive movement by Ukraine. There's a couple of incidences where they're really crushing the Russians, which is good. But it says there is a freeze on useful activity right now. Plans are on hold, and we may be entangled in a situation whose implications we are blind. All right. We may have to submit, which is simply wait. Just wait and watch. It's funny, I'm getting ahead of my writing, and then my writing supports what I'm saying. So now it says, be prepared to spend some time waiting. Well, I didn't see that when I said that to you. So it just, deepens the message. Don't depend on others right now. And yet, there is no reason for anxiety, it says. Simply submit and be still. I think that's a big message for the week, to be honest with you. Now, that doesn't have to do with areas where we need lots of activity and action, which would be the Middle East, but it's kind of talking about us in the USA. Now, one last thing about the rune called standstill, and I bolded this in blue. Standstill tells us to prepare. Be ready for when the ice melts. And that feels like Congress to me. As the ice melts, more is revealed and forward progress can be made. Submit and be still, Democrats. What has been full must empty. Trust your own process and wait for the signs of spring. Now, spring is a metaphor. It doesn't mean we have to wait 6 to 8 months, okay? Well, then we got another one that was a little mysterious about the week. The unknowable rune, which is blank. There's nothing there. It's blank on both sides. And it says blank is the end and blank is the beginning. And I wrote, makes sense. The GOP is unknown. The wars are unknown. This is a rune of total trust and should be taken as evidence of our true destiny, which rises like the phoenix from the ashes of what is called fate. And a lot of what's going on, to me, feels fated. Now, unknowable, blank, portends a symbolic death. Symbolic death. It may relate to some part of our lives that is no longer applicable. It advises relinquishing control, which is the ultimate challenge always. When it appears in a spread, you can be sure that the unknowable is at work, even though we can't see it. It's not hard to believe that the unknowable is at work. Imagine the things we don't know. We get stuff from the news, but there's so much we don't know because some of this cannot be shared. Some of it has to do with the sneakiness and the darkness of the GOP, and some of it has to do with, international security matters. So it's okay if we don't know everything. It's okay. But there is undiluted potential in this blankness. That's the good thing. So it says just move forward into this blankness with this sort of sense of trust and faith. It does say that. Forces that are moving unseen in the background are forces that we have put in effect. So this rune is called Odin, and it says that this is an invitation to just be, the capital B-E, with the blankness and the trust. It's the hardest thing for people to do, right? To just be in the trust, wait on the will of heaven. But Odin represents the fertility, which you can fill up with a bounty that we create. But once again, as we come to the end of this description, blank says that it represents the highest possibilities of human endeavor. It's just best to let it stand empty, ready to be filled with the life we create. And what beckons is the creative power of the unknown. Now, the third rune is the rune of separation in the reversed position. And it tells us this is not the time to be bound by old conditioning or old authority. Get this feeling, it's saying think outside the box creatively, because there's a whole host of things that need to be rectified. Not only should we consider what will benefit us, but will benefit others. And that's very significant, of course, right now. Total honesty is required, because we may be called upon to undertake a radical departure from old ways. And here's the caution. Through negligence or refusal to see clearly, we may cause pain to others and then damage to ourselves. So this is it's a tenuous journey, and you don't have to be intuitive to know that. It's a tenuous journey right now. It advises us adaptability and skillful means are the methods to cultivate at this time. We must wait for the universe to act. And then when I pulled the clarifier, I got separation reversed again. And that felt, all right, this is the reading I'm supposed to share initially. About don't be bound by old conditioning, old authority, consider what will benefit us and others. Honesty is required, but through negligence, we can cause pain to others. So that came up twice at the end, and that's what drew me. Now let me share with you a few runes, 2 runes that I got the first time I threw the runes this morning. This is very positive, and it made me think of the house. I got the partnership rune. It's a great rune. It looks like a giant X, so there's no reversal to it. It's an X, but it indicates that a partnership in some form is at hand. Of course, the GOP came to mind first. Doesn't have to be, but I think it is. But it says, and it makes sense if it's the GOP, but it could be something in the Middle East, because we have a clean relationship with Ukraine and Zelensky and NATO. So I'm not quite going there. You are put on notice, we are put on notice not to collapse ourselves into this partnership. It's good, but don't collapse. Like in psych terms, don't become codependent. It's achieved by only separate and whole beings who retain their individuality, their separateness, even as they unite. And that would be true of even 2 people coming together to create a partnership. The separateness is the strength. Sometimes this partnership is called the love rune. And it's a gift. And I'm just going to share with you what I've been wishing, but I didn't throw any runes on it. I've been wishing that the GOP ties themselves up in such terrible knots that those 5 Republicans come forward and they vote for Hakeem Jeffries to be the speaker, because he would be fair and he would bring order immediately. And even as the Speaker of the House and a Democrat, Hakeem Jeffries cannot make the GOP vote a certain way, but he can bring order and intelligence and productivity and decisions to Congress. That's my dream, Hakeem Jeffries. He will be Speaker in 25, but I'm talking about now. So there's that partnership, and it says at the end, this partnership It's always positive. And it says it represents the gift of freedom from which flow other gifts. So if we could get the GOP out of the traffic jam, we would find some freedom and productivity. Now, the next one that I got from the first reading was protection. Protection. And protection is when we know when it's a time to retreat, be quiet, and consolidate. And that would be now. And it says control of emotions are an issue here. And you know, the GOP are infighting, hating each other. I mean, very dramatically, they hate each other. All the journalists, pundits, hosts are talking about it. The GOP members hate each other to the point where they're criticizing Steve Scalise for having cancer, which is absurd. All these Jesus freaks, right? They're criticizing. I don't like Steve Scalise. I think he's awful, but he has cancer. You know, it's crazy. And it says control of emotions during transition and change. Don't collapse. But new opportunities and challenges are typical of this rune, the rune of protection. It also is a rune excellent to contemplate and meditate, because it is protection and healing. And used in the correct manner, it can help achieve a state of enlightenment. So you might meditate on protection. Timely, right action, and correct conduct are really, it says, our only protections. It says if you are uncomfortable in the pain, observe it, be with it, you will progress. And that's a very Zen piece of advice. We're into an interesting week, my friends. It's really about watching, observing, and not overreacting, quelling impulses. This is the gist of it that I'm consolidating for you. And here's just a quote. I just pulled it out. I liked it. It's by Rosamund Pilcher, who lived from 1924 to 2019. She was a British novelist, best known for her novels set in Cornwall. And her books have sold over 60 million copies worldwide. That's a lot. She said, and this is probably a quote from one of her novels. Here it is. She believed, of course, because without something to believe in, life would be intolerable. That really caught me, because it's really true. Something to hope for, someone to love, something to believe in. That's a card I got from my mother one day, and I still have it, and I think it's true. So this plucks out, maybe that's why this quote stood out to me. I'll repeat it one more time. She believed, of course, because without something to believe in, life would be intolerable. So that was Rosamund Pilcher. All right, my friends, I'm going to come back with a Patreon tomorrow. And what I do is I put a little note in my community section, and I tell even those who aren't signed up for my Patreon what I'm going to talk about. So then if you find it interesting, oh, I want to hear what she has to say, you plunk down your $8 and you get to watch me and hear me. And I think my Patreon is fun. I flip around from things that are highly entertaining to things that are informative to things that are spiritual, psychological, and it just comes to me week to week. And some Patreons are more depth than others, and some are a little more fun than others. And I'd like this to grow. All right, my friends, I will be on Patreon, and then we'll see more towards Thursday and Friday what news comes about, what any of these runes illuminate for us. So I'll see you very soon. It is Monday, just set forth on a good week with determination and goodwill. And we hold all the suffering people in our hearts, in our minds, and we keep those candles lit for them. Okay? All right. You take care. Peace and blessings. Make peace. Make good memories. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.